Hi friends, today I'm going to be baking my grandma's red raspberry bars. They're so yummy. They're made with oats and red raspberry preserves, but you can use any kind of preserve to make this dish. I'm going to be doing some measuring, so that's mathematical skills. We're going to be reading, so that's literacy skills, and we're going to be interacting with each other, so that's communication skills. So stay tuned. Okay, so on my table I have all my materials ready. I have the recipe, which is written in cursive. So for those of you who don't read cursive, it may be a little hard to read, but that's okay. I'll be going through everything step by step. I've preheated my oven to 375. I have my measuring spoons, my measuring cups, cooking spray, the pan, brown sugar, flour, oats, baking soda, salt, 3/4 cup margarine, and red raspberry preserves. You're supposed to have 10 ounces of the preserves. You can choose any kind. I just chose the red raspberry because that's what was in the original recipe, but you could do strawberry, blueberry, any type of flavor that you like. So the first thing that it says to do is to add softened butter or margarine, softened margarine, 3/4 cups worth. So 3/4 cups is going to be a stick and a half. So I'm going to go ahead and add the margarine to the pan. So I've put the softened butter into the pan, and the next step that it says I should do is add 1 cup of firmly packed brown sugar. So right here on the cup, it says 1 cup. I'm going to scoop it down into my brown sugar bag, and I'm going to make sure that I pack the brown sugar into the cup firmly. So stay tuned. So I'm pausing this video frequently so that I can do the measurements and move things in, because it's hard to videotape and do it at the same time. You may need to pause the video as you're making the recipe. I now have the 1 cup of brown sugar firmly packed. I'm going to put it into the pan, and there it is in with the butter. And now I'm going to use my fork to cream them together. So to cream them together, you're just going to kind of push them together like so that they're really mixed together well. And this should take a couple minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and show you what it looks like when it's finished. Okay, I've now creamed together the brown sugar and the butter, and I had to wash my hands because the brown sugar, or not butter, I'm sorry, margarine, got all over my fingers, and I just wanted to show you what it looks like after it's creamed together. So this is what it looks like. And then it says that the next step is to add the flour, salt, baking soda, and oats. So it says that I need 1 1/2 cup of flour. So I will be using the same cup because we don't want to have to dirty multiple things and waste water on washing dishes. So there's my 1 cup. And then I have to also use a 1/2 cup. So here is my 1/2 cup. So I'm going to pause while I scoop them into the flour. So I now have 1 1/2 cup of flour measured. I used the 1/2 cup to scoop 2 times into the 1 cup to make 1 cup of flour. That way I didn't scoop the 1 cup that had already had brown sugar in it into my flour and cross-contaminate. And then I scooped the 1/2 cup again. So I actually did 3 of the red scoops to make 1 1/2 cups. I'm now going to add them to the pan. So I put it over top of the pan like this, and then I just dump it in, and I'm going to give it a little tap. That way I make sure all of the flour is inside the pan. And I'm going to do the same thing with the 1 cup of flour. Now it's all in the pan. The next step is to get 1 teaspoon of salt, a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm gonna pause while I get out my teaspoon and my ½ teaspoon measuring spoons. Okay, so now I have out my teaspoon and my ½ teaspoon, and I was noticing that the teaspoon and the cup are the same color, and the ½ teaspoon and the ½ cup are the same color. I think that they did that to make it easier on measuring. So the next step is to put 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to take my teaspoon here, and I'm going to take my salt, and I'm going to pour my salt into the teaspoon. And then I will take the teaspoon and I will shake it into my pan. The next step is 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm going to get my baking soda here. My ½ teaspoon, put it into the baking soda, scrape off the excess, and then I'm going to shake that into the pan. The next step is to add 1 1/2 cup oats. So if you remember, we have the 1 cup and the ½ cup over here that we've already used. So I'm going to get the oats, and I'm going to attempt, or try to, pour the oats into the green 1 cup measuring cup. And into the red ½ cup measuring cup. And I'm making a little bit of a mess, but that's okay because I'll clean it up. So I'm going to take the green 1 cup measuring cup and pour it into the pan with the flour, the margarine, the brown sugar, the baking soda, and the salt. The 1 cup and the ½ cup. The next step is to mix it all well. So I'm going to move my hand closer to me here. And I'm going to use the fork and start mixing everything together. I want to make sure I pay attention to the sides so that I can get everything off of the sides. Do some scooping motions and mixing motions. This is going to take about a minute, so I'm going to pause the video while I mix it up. So I was mixing with the fork and it didn't seem to really be mixing it up well, so I had to switch to using my hand. Now I washed my hands very thoroughly, which I know that we've had other videos to show how to do proper hand washing. You definitely want to make sure that your hands are clean before you put your hands inside of the food that everybody's going to eat. But you just want to mix it up and make sure that the mixture is mixed thoroughly. Okay, and here is the mixture when it's mixed thoroughly. You can see that it's all mixed up nicely. Next, we're going to move over to our pan, and we're going to use some cooking spray. I probably should cover the name brand. I don't know if there's any type of copyright or allowance that I have to ask to put that on the YouTube or on Facebook, but I'm just going to make sure I spray the pan and I coat it well. And then I'm going to take about half of the mixture out of here. I'm going to use my hand to scoop it up. And I'm just going to put it down into the pan, breaking it up so that I can cover all the areas. And this is where the kids really like to help, because they get to press it down. And you want to make sure that the whole bottom of the pan is covered. So if you have to use a little bit more than half, that's okay, because you'd rather have a nice strong bottom to this than an even top. So I'm going to get just a little bit more. And we're looking pretty good here. I'm going to make sure that I fill in all those holes and cracks. Try to make it even. And then we move on to the next step, which is to spread on the preserves. So I went and I got a spatula, a rubber spatula, so that I can spread on the preserves. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to dump them on, and I'm going to spread it out evenly. Okay, so now I've spread them on. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see what it looks like. So it's a pretty even spread. Yours may look a little bit thicker because I actually only had about 8 ounces left. I've used this jar once before and it was a 16 ounce. So there may be just a little bit on there. You just want to make sure it's spread evenly. Okay, so now that we have it spread evenly, the next step is to sprinkle the rest of the crumb mixture on the top. And you want to try to keep it nice and even and try to get it thin. So you really have to kind of break up the mixture as it's kind of packed together well. So you just sprinkle it all the way through. And this should take about a minute, so I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so there it is. That's what it looks like when it is ready to put into the oven. The recipe says to bake at 375 for about 20 to 25 minutes. So I am going to walk over to my oven. Children, if you're doing this, you need to make sure you have an adult to put it in the oven, because children should not be putting things in the oven or taking them out without an adult. So as you see, my oven is set to 375. I'll go ahead and open up the oven, and I'm going to put it on the top rack. I'm going to close it up and set a timer. for 20 minutes. And when it's finished baking, we will bring it out and let it cool, and I'll show you how we cut it here, but you can cut it any way you want. Okay, so our timer's going off. I believe that means that it's time to take out the red raspberry bars. I'm going to put on my oven mitt, so I'm just going to pause it a second, flip around the camera. Okay, I have my oven mitt on, and remember children, this is a job for an adult. I'm going to bring it out and I'm going to set it on top of the oven so that I can close the oven door. And there they are. They look really nice. The top is browner than when it went in, so it's like a golden brown now. And I'm going to make sure that I turn the oven off. And it should cool for probably about an hour before you cut into it. So once it's cool, I'll come back and I'll show you how we cut it, and I hope you all enjoy. Hi friends, I'm back. The red raspberry bars have cooled and I'm ready to cut them. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see me cutting them. And we just cut them into like squares. And I'm using a steak knife, but you can use whatever knife. Children, if you are going to be doing this, this is something that you need to okay with an adult. But we just cut it out. I'm having a hard time holding the camera and cutting it at the same time, but we'll try here. I just cut them into squares, but you can cut them any shape you want. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to use a spatula. Maybe I don't have to pause it. Yeah, I'm going to have to pause it. I need two hands, but I'm going to pause it so that I can take one out and I can show you the side view. Okay, so there it is. There is my grandma's red raspberry bar. They're so yummy. I hope you try one. I hope you enjoy. And I miss you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.